F-150, and it was Super Duty 6.0 crew cab bed, whole 9 yards, but strip truck. So I bring it home. Everything's great, no problem. About 8 months down the road, 9 months, I get a renewal for my tags. And I'm like, what do you mean? I said, dude, it should be 2 years. So not looking at anything, I start arguing with the MVA. I was like, what are you doing? And the lady goes, excuse me, sir, you're over 10,000 pounds gross vehicle weight.
Oh.
And I was like, you got to be kidding. Of course, I go out, open the door, and it's 13.5. It's really like a F-450 with a 350 badging. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, you got to be kidding. So I fell in that trap where I'm paying tags yearly instead of every 2 years.
Wow.
And that was one unexpected cost. That, like I said, that, if you don't check your P's and Q's and before, this is something that could happen.
Yeah.
And, that's always important to look at, everything, even the minor things, because I was like, man, I can't believe I did this, or, ended up with that big. And of course, like you said, it's just crazy.
Well, that one sounds like it was your fault right from the start. We got to call them as we seize them, and you were kind of obsessed from the beginning. And when you said I didn't really check it out,
yeah, I mean I can't be mad at anybody but myself. And trust me, I'm really good sticking my foot in my own mouth and kicking myself in the ass at the same time. But
as long as you know it, that's what.
Yeah. But these are things, like I said, I'll never forget. I had my neighbor, she comes over and she goes, I'm looking at a truck like yours. I said, all right, go check the gross vehicle weight. And she's like, what are you talking about? And I showed her on the door where it said, and she said, why? And I said, you want under 10,000 unless you want to pay.
That was mistake number 2. You should have just said, I'll sell you mine. I'll give you a smoking deal.
Yeah. No, it's not a neighbor. Maybe it's somebody down the street.
And you know what? You did it a third time because you said, wow, I really want that big white truck. Another big white truck. I got to have one of those too.
Yeah.
Now you're married to that.
So Keith.
So, yeah.
You're a man with multi-cars. What do you think?
What did you say? What?
What's your protocol on buying used vehicles?
Well, so I just bought one a couple days ago. Whatever it was. I can't remember. A couple days ago for my son. He had a 2007 Prius. It got wrecked. He had that thing for like 4 months, and so I'm looking on Facebook Marketplace. I found a 2008 Prius because I'm just gonna, if there's any broken parts off the new one, I'm just gonna take it off the old one. As long as there's no front end damage, because the front of his car is wiped. So I found one. It's like the weirdest buying experience. I'm still like iffy to see if I'm gonna get the title or not. But we did everything online. So I'm chatting with him on Facebook Marketplace. I test drove the car. The guy meets me in some parking lot. I'm like, okay, and I drove it around, and then I'm chatting with him. He says, oh no, I'm a dealer, so there's going to be some fees and all that kind of stuff. I was like, yeah. I'm like, come on. So he's telling me it's going to be this much more, but it'll be in the contract. And then he said contract. I'm like, what do you just send me? I go, just send me the paperwork. And I look at it, and the price wasn't that bad. They only added like maybe $200 for like service fees, and then there was the tax and the title transfer, all that kind of stuff, which I would have to pay anyway. And so I talking back and forth with the guy, and I was like, all right. I go, so I want to buy it. What do I do? He goes, all right, meet me at this. He gave me an address of an apartment complex. I go, well, you're a dealer. I'll just go to the dealer. Where's your dealer? I'll just go there. He goes, it's in Orlando, and I'm in Tampa. I'm like, okay. I'm like, that doesn't sound. There's something fishy going on. So, I look at the paperwork that he sent me in email, and then I do all this research. I looked up his license number and all, make sure it's like a legit dealership. And it turns out he must just be renting like a room at another dealership.
Yeah.
So, because I looked up the address and it says Suite whatever, Suite G, whatever the heck it was, and I look at the address and it's some other car dealer, and I'm like, all right, he's probably just renting. So I call the phone number just to make sure that the phone number goes to there, and I'm like talking to the guy. He goes, yeah, that's my guy. He's selling it over in Tampa. I'm like, okay, cool. So I felt a little bit better. So I sign all the it's a DocuSign, right? I sign all that stuff. I go look at the car, go pick it up, and the guy's like, I go, all right, now what do we do? I'm gonna take it. And he goes, well, just give me the money, and he will only take cash. He didn't want a cashier's check. I'm like, yeah. And I'm like, okay, here's the. I go, but where don't you have to give me something saying that you sold me it and this and that? He goes,
a receipt.
Yeah, like a receipt. I go, otherwise I just stole the car, right? I don't have. What do I have? I have nothing. He goes, oh, he'll send you an email and he'll sign it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I printed the stuff out. I go, I have the paperwork. I printed it out. I go, someone needs to sign this stuff saying you sold it to me, the bill of sale,
Sure.
So he goes, hold on. And he calls the dude. And he goes, yeah. And he was speaking in, the guy's Russian or Ukrainian. I don't know. I didn't understand. Yeah. And that's another thing. I'm like, red flags, like going all right.
And you're still walking down the path.
And I'm still, the problem is, it was a good price. And the car is a 2008 and has 93,000 miles on it. So, and the price was real. I'm like, and that was the other thing. I'm like, this price seems kind of too good to be true. But I don't have a car in my house now. Cheaper. I don't have the money. Yeah, that's what. Well, he sent me a picture of the title. I mean, you could doctor it, but it had the previous Toyota place that owned it, and then the company name that the guy, that I verified is the new owner. I'm like, okay, so they probably bought it from that. So I don't know, we'll see in a couple months if I got screwed. But so the guy sent another email and he signed. The dealer did a DocuSign and he signed. I saw it. I'm like, all right, I saw where he signed it. I go, all right, well, here's the money. I'm like, I guess here's the money. And he gave me the key. I'm like, okay, bye. Go move the car. I'm like, all right. I go, what do I do with the title? He goes, oh, it'd be electronic. And, like
what do you do for license plates?
I transferred a plate over.
How does that work in Florida when you come back? This reminds me of the Saline Mustang I had to do the estimate for, the appraisal rather for the insurance company. And the guy was some kind of Slavic European speaking in broken English, and he had a lot of stuff that was virtual, and I just got that weird feeling about things. But I think like the guy was legit. It ended up like this guy was legit. I think they just do business a little bit different. And the guy I talked to the guy that I bought it from, and I go, so what's the deal? You're in an apartment complex. This guy's in Orlando, and he goes, well, I can only sell 3 cars legally in Florida. Then I need a dealer's license. He goes, I don't have a dealer's license. This is all in broken English, right? I'm trying to get, this is what I'm getting, what he said. Right. I kind of know the law a little bit. So I don't have a dealer's license, so I'm using his dealer's license to sell a car. And there's some, somehow he's getting the money. I don't know, whatever.
Yeah, it's Maryland's the same way. You're only, because these guys will set up and they'll have cars all over the place.
Yeah.
And they actually, I have a associate, a friend of a friend, and they got like 9 cell phones and 13 different numbers and everything like that, because if they link them together, then they have to, they're like, again, they have to have a dealer's license.
Oh, they have
we do 5 in Ohio.
Yeah, and so that's hard. But like on what you were asking about the tags, like in Maryland, you can go issue a tag and they'll give you a tag. You can have a 15-day tag, I think a 15-day tag and a 30-day tag, and that gives you so you can transport the car. They're kind of strict on it.
But when you do that, when you go to get that tag, you have to show them something about the car, not just like a Facebook Marketplace ad. You got to, right? There should be some paperwork. That's like what Keith was saying. Now, without paperwork, how do you do that? Yeah. I don't think you can do that in New York. Well, I know you can't be temporary unless it's from a dealer.
Well, this was I know it's a temporary thing. It's either 15 and a 15 and 30, or I don't know if they're all 30 days now. That's changed since I had to deal with all the. Or you could be like the guy that bought my F-150 before I bought my crew cab. You could just have the same color vehicle and buy and just switch tags over, and not
that's
really.
until you check the VIN.
Yeah, well, that was the strangest thing, because I had this dude pulled in when I was selling the truck, and same thing. He rolls up and he's like, "How much for the truck?" I tell him the price. He said, "Okay, I'll be back tonight to pick it." Never touched it, never kicked the tire, never looked at it, never did anything. And I was like, "Okay, whatever." And of course, I moved the truck back up to the house, and I was like, "I don't know, this might get a little shady here." And sure enough, at nightfall, guy pulls in the driveway and says, "I'm here for the truck," hands me the money, and takes one of the tags off the truck that he had, and it was identical truck, looked the same, puts it on there and drives it off. And I was like, okay.
Yeah. So for the paperwork, I signed a power of attorney, and that dealer just sends somebody to the tag office and can do everything on the paperwork for me. Just have this guy, the other guy does all, transfer this tag. I guess he signs the title for me too, I guess.
So yeah, when you signed the power of attorney, you gave him your signature rights.
But
see what else he bought too.
Yeah, no, but it says it's only for that, just doing this right. It tells you exactly what it's. He's allowed
on the top side, but on the back side, he might have a cigar boat down there in Tampa now.
Yeah, he owns the whole scam. Get my signature, power of attorney. Now he owns all my cars.
And that's the thing, in this day and age, where all the scams that are out there and all the stuff they're telling us to be aware of, and now this is kind of like a wide open deal, and it goes against what everybody else is saying. And I don't doubt it's totally legit. But legit, if it's legit people doing it, but seedy people use legit means to get seedy things over. So
yeah, and they're always all nice to you and everything. Oh yeah, don't worry, everything's great.
Yeah.
It's all fun and games until the black Suburban pulls in your driveway.
Yeah,
that's
man coming.
I had a scammer messing with me. I put one of my friend's vans on eBay. This was way back. This was probably maybe 99, 2000. So I put the van on. A guy from Africa calls and says, "I want the van. I'm going to send a check, and my driver will come, and you just pay the driver from the money from the check."
Mm-hmm.
Right? So I get the check in the mail. I deposit it in the bank, and the same day I got the check, the driver calls. Says, "Hey, I'm going to come pick up the car." I was like, "Well, check didn't clear yet. When the check clears, I'll release the car." He goes, "Oh man, I can't. I really need to pick it up," and blah blah blah. So they wanted me to pay out of my own money, pay the driver, and give him the car.
Sure.
For a van. Yeah. So that didn't happen.
Did the check bounce?
Yeah. So I called the bank. I was like, "Hey, I want to see if that check cleared." She was like, "No, it's no good."
Yeah.
So some people probably would have said, "Oh, okay, come get it. I understand you got to get it," and gave them the vehicle and paid them.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I was selling a car, one of my trucks, and I sold the guy's like, "I want it. I'll pay your full price." And I'm like, "Okay." I go, "Here's my address. Come get it." He goes, "Oh, I'm out of town. Blah blah. I'll send you a check." I'm like, "All right, here. Send me a check." So I get the check, and wherever I don't remember the total details, but he was in like Michigan, and he gave me a check from a country club in Maryland, and I'm like, "What the heck? Why is?" And I asked the guy, he goes, "Oh yeah, that's my friend." Blah, blah. I'm like, "Okay." So I call the country club. I go, "I got this check. I just want to make sure this is." And they go, "No, it's not good." Because this guy's still doing this. He's been doing this for a year.
Yeah.
To get taken our check. He stole a bunch of checks, and he's been trying to buy stuff with them. And then he's gotten some people. I go, "Oh, okay." And I wonder if I still have that check.
Hey, I'll tell you. I had a shop owner. He had his checkbook out on the counter, and a guy came in, and he did not see him do it until he went back and watched the video. And I watched the video with him. He showed me because he couldn't believe it. The guy, huh?
You took him from the back.
No. He asked the guy, the shop owner. He said something about like, "Oh, I want to see the part that you changed." And he goes, "Okay." He went out into the shop, left him alone. He took a photocopy from his phone. He was taking pictures. And so what he did was, from that, he made checks and cleared his whole bank account out.
Wow.
That was like on a Wednesday. So he goes and to get his stuff ready to do payroll and do all that stuff, goes into the bank.
No money
anywhere.
Wow.
So they were like, he's like, "How could there not be any money?" They said, "Oh, well, you have 3 checks here that you had made out to cash." And he's like, "What?" So they went back to their video, and it was that dude saying that
he's like, "I know that guy."
He's like, "I know who that guy is." And that was you want to talk about a super mess, dude. That was a hell of a mess. But like you said,
right?
Did you guys see on the news that old man that he was being scammed over the phone, saying that his nephew's in jail? It's $12,000 bail.
Oh, yeah.
And
That's
they sent a Uber driver there to pick up the money. Well, this Uber driver was innocent. She goes to the door. He comes to the door with a gun, ends up shooting her.
Oh, shit.
And she dies. He gets arrested. He had the $12,000 there, but he didn't really want to give it up.
Wow.
What he should have done is called the law.
yeah.
Yep.
Everybody wants to be a cowboy.
Well, on payment, we had a friend of the show who's a appraiser, and he did business all over the world. So he was all over the country, and he was smart. He learned a lot more when he started doing business worldwide. Like a lot of it was in Dubai and the Middle East. And he came in one day and he says, "Okay, I want to do it. We want to talk about what the best way is to pay for a car that you buy online or otherwise." So he brought with him, he gave us a spiel, and he says, "I have in front of me some examples, and I want you guys to look at this stuff and tell me what you would accept or not accept." And he had a personal check that had been endorsed and signed. He had a bank check. He had a corporate check. He had another he had a money order. He had cash. And we looked at him and said, "Well, all of these look good, And he says, "Every single one of them is fake." I was like, "What?"
Wow.
He said, "Yeah, every single one. That's how good they are. Even the cash was fake." So his contention was the only way to really to pay for something where that you're getting paid is a bank to bank transfer.
Yeah. And
kind of like what Keith went through. Now this was a few years ago. 2 years ago, I'm at the point we're paying off the mortgage on the house. So I go to my one bank, and the other bank that the mortgage was held was across the street. So I go to the bank where I had the money. I said, "Okay, I want to make a payment to this other bank. It's got to be a bank-to-bank transfer, paying off the mortgage." They do it all the time. Okay, we do the paperwork, who, what, when, and where. They needed a physical address because they wanted to double check. Okay, we give them that. And the guy verifies the funds were there. Next thing you know, he says, "Okay, we're done. Great. Congratulations." And I'm sitting there looking at him, and he's looking at me, and I said,
That's it.
"Don't I get a receipt?" Like, I just transferred, tens of thousands of dollars out of my account, and don't I get like a receipt? 7-Eleven, I get a receipt. Yeah. He's like, "Oh, no, they'll they'll contact you via email within 2 hours that everything's been. I said, but wait a minute, this is bank to bank, so it's like electronic, it's instantaneous, right? I was like, what do I gotta wait 2 to 3 hours? And I said, okay. I said, well, I got to trust in the banking system. I was in front of the guy. I wasn't doing it online or anything. Went home and like within 2 hours, I got an email saying yes. Everything there was my receipt. But even that was,
Yeah.
Yeah.
a
Feels
little
weird.
So yeah,
Tell you, people, it's their job to scam people. They work 8 hours to scam somebody.
Yeah.
You know, it's terrible.
yeah, and they're good at it.
Yep.
You spend 8 hours to scam something. It would only take you 4 hours to do it, but we'll try to beat the system.
Both of my daughters have had their credit card numbers lifted, but they used them in local places online, the Uber Eats or whatever. And then they found that there was a charge at another restaurant a couple towns away for like, for like 5, 15, then 30, $40. Someone at the place, a cashier, probably lifted the number and did it. So they were able to get it resolved, because everything is insured. They were able to get it resolved, but they both had that happen to them.
Yeah, that was when I first got into business, and it was Father's Day, and during June it's my birthday, my daughter's birthday, my parents' anniversaries. We got Father's Day, my grandparents' anniversary. So we just have this big cookout type thing, and so it was a Sunday where I'm flipping burgers, and my wife comes over and says, the bank is on the phone, and I'm like, what do you mean the bank's on the phone on a Sunday? So I called and they said, oh, hey, how you doing? And I'm like, okay, I'm flipping burgers, baby. So let's get this on the road. He goes, you're not buying anything? And I said, no, I'm not buying anything. And they say, oh, have you purchased anything? And I said, no, I haven't purchased anything. And they were like, oh. I said, well, how much money's been purchased? $85,000.
Wow.
So then you should tell them, you know what? I want to buy that Matco hamburger flipper, but they charged me for the Snap-on one.
So
Instead of payments.
I was like, well, I haven't bought anything. And look, the money I said, I didn't have that much money in the bank. How come this got this far? And they said, oh, well, they opened your business line of credit from the card. And I was like, well, I haven't done anything. And so they were like, okay, we'll put a stop on this. The guy's trying to buy another $6,500. And I was like, okay. Of course, I got to go back now. I got the whole family, and I'm supposed to be like, hey, all right, and
Happy.
yeah, happy anniversary and birthday, the whole 9 yards,
Yeah.
And but the funny part of the whole story was that after it got all resolved, I had to go into the bank and they give me my new debit card. And of course, it was in an envelope, and I had the manager of the bank. He's like, "Oh yeah, come on in, Brian, and we got your thing here, and let's set up your PIN number." And I said, "Do you have a pair of scissors?"
Yeah.
A pair, scissors. And he's like, yeah, why? I said, let me see those. And I said, hey, now, nobody's seen this card except you and me, right? And he's like, well, yeah. So I cut the card up. And I said, look, my number gets stolen again. I'm coming back, and this place is going to be a car wash. You understand? So I went like 10, 12 years, 15 years without a debit card for the business,
Wow.
But then they started with the bank. That was ID. So every time I went into the bank, I had to show my ID, and I had to show that because I didn't have a card. They were like, what do you mean you don't have a card? And I'm like, dude, every time, my daughters, like you said, every time they get number hacked, I said, I don't have time for all that. So I come in here, I'm just making a deposit. I got to show 3 forms of ID and leave a thumbprint, And but I finally had to get one because once COVID hit and you couldn't go into the bank and you couldn't do anything and you had to, try and deposit money. And of course, God forbid that they had to do it old school with, the the bag and then dump it in the night drop. That I would call 3 days later and say, hey, did you check the night drop? We use that still? I don't you work at the bank. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, there's a bag in there I dropped off. Oh, we'll go check. And I'm like, oh, God.
Yeah.
That's crazy. I flew to Vegas one time, got off the plane, tried to charge something at the airport, and my car was frozen. I called the bank. I was like, what's going on? It's like,
The wife did it, right?
No, they thought it was fraud.
Yeah.
They thought somebody stole my car and went to Vegas. I'm like, it's me. I'm in Vegas.
That happened to me when I was in Florida. I went to go buy a bunch of stuff for the beach, and my card got declined at the checkout. So I called the bank manager. I said, dude, what's going on? I got money. He says, well, we had to lock your card. Somebody out of state in Florida. I'm like, that's me. I'm in Florida with the family. We're vacationing. It's like, oh. So they fixed it up, and I was able to go back to the cash register and pay for the stuff.
So things have changed a little, because in the past I would do that. They always said, if you're going to travel, contact your credit card company and your bank. Let them know that you'll be making charges outside of your normal charging area.
Yeah.
And I've done that. Now, I think last year, when I started going down south, I did that. And they said, oh, you don't have to do that. You don't have to tell us that. I was like, well, why not? So I'm trying to protect myself. And, this way it's me. Oh, we'll note you. Because now with like second-party verification and all, I think they've made it, secure on their end, where they said, yeah, it's not a problem. You're covered. I'm like, okay. So now the last four times I went down, and this last time I spent a couple grand on the credit card, and nobody even blinked an eye. So
that was
what's that, Louis?
I like my bank will text me and ask if it's me.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that. Like when you first get there, the first purchase is like, oh, you get a message. So this you, and you're like, yep.
I have it set up on my phone where through my card. So if I make a, you can set the limit. I think I have it at $50. If I make a charge over $50, bing. And I tell you, I'll be at a restaurant, give the guy my card. He isn't even back to me yet, and ding, my phone is going off. It's like it's that fast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was like back in the day when I did a lot of the NASCAR tracks, because a lot of those NASCAR the souvenir trailers are from different areas or different, and some of them are out in different states. It's not all out of North Carolina. So I was down at Daytona one time, and I'm spending money, and all of a sudden it stops. And of course I call and I say, well, I'm down here at Daytona, and they're like, well, how come we're getting charges from South Carolina? How come we're getting charges from Georgia? How come we're getting? And I said, well, the drivers are from those areas, and the trailer, all the different trailers, even though I was in one place and they knew where I was, it was still getting outside sources all over the place. Yeah. So sometimes it's good, but other times, of course, it never fails. There's something that you're doing on the shady side, and you don't want anybody to know, and you get caught, right? But when you're just doing the normal thing, it's you can get away with everything. So,
right
when you're buying that fourth gun,
and you forget that's the one that's linked to you and Mama, right? I mean, that's the one that she gets the email and you get the text and you get this phone call,
But the problem is, my wife won't be mad I'm buying the fourth gun. She's mad because I didn't buy her one too.
Yeah. It's like Bill Cameron from Edge of Eternity channel did a video today that talking about his wife, saying, hey, you got all that angle iron out in the driveway. It's been there for years. You need to do something. So he decided, okay. He brings it in the shop, cleans it up, mills down the ends to make real nice connections when he welds it all together. And he made a cart that's got a 1-inch thick metal plate with threaded holes all through the plate to the top of it. And then he ordered a one of those 3-in-1 metal brake, metal shear, and metal the roller thing, and mounted that on top of it. And I'm like, Bill, I said, I know you cleaned out the driveway and got the angle iron out there and made good use of it. I said, but how long are you going to live until she finds out that you bought that tool to go on top of it? And he's laughing. He's like, oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I said, is she going to be mad because you spent her Mother's Day money on a tool?
Yep. Baby told me to get it out of the driveway.
Yeah.
It turned out sweet. I mean, he did a great job on that cart. The caster wheels on it, though, it looks like Chihuahua legs, and it's got a Rottweiler sitting on top of them. But he said they're heavy duty. So.
Hey guys, I gotta jump off early tonight.
You gotta jump off early. It's past your bedtime.
Well, I usually get up
late.
about 10:30.
Oh,
What time?
that is true.
Are you ending the live or what?
No, Ray's here. He can
Okay, you got him set up as a managing type
Sure.
person. All right, good deal.
Yeah, we'll take care of it.
Oh, wait a minute, Ray, Lewis, did you get a chance to talk to Dave yet from Rust Bucket Resto?
No, I haven't. And actually, I'll do that tomorrow for sure.
Okay. Yeah, he had messaged me and said he hadn't heard from you. I said, well, I'll mention it if I don't forget in the live.
Yeah, I've been running with my head off, so I'll get to him.
Yeah, if you want, I can send you a reminder sometime tomorrow and say, hey, don't.
That'd be good. Around one or two.
Okay.
Sounds
I
good.
can do that. Yeah. Yeah, I think he'll be great for the channel, I believe.
Yeah, sounds good.
Yeah.
All right, you guys have a great weekend, and I'll talk to you next week.
Okay, Lewis.
Hey, Lewis.
Take care,
Yeah.
Lewis.
Get easy.
All right, later.
Have a good night.
Take it easy, Lewis.
It wasn't me.
Bedtime just past mine too, so I got to get out of here also.
All right, Jim.
Oh, before you go, Jim, I saw the post on Facebook. Is that the whole clan? I mean, you had a whole group there. You had a pretty big gathering.
That's my brother and all his kids and all their kids.
Wow,
And
that was a
just
hell of a
family.
picture. And then you're all the way in the back, just a small little head. I mean, come
my
on,
wife
man.
is like, if you look two spaces over, my wife's there too.
Yeah, I was like looking through. I was like, well, why is Jim putting this? Maybe he's taking the pit. I said, man, he's all the way in the back. You got to move up front, man. Don't be shy.
Yeah, it's hard to explain.
Yeah.
I'd be the boss. So
Yeah.
there is a picture of me with Lily.
Yeah.
My niece is, that's my wife and I.
Yeah, I saw the one, but when you had the whole clown, I was like, man, did you just like have a start grabbing people through the neighborhood and threw them all together or what? I mean, it was a pretty big picture.
Yeah, it is. My niece's in-laws, they got a pretty big family as well. Plus, my brother's other kids, they all have kids as well. So it gets big fast.
Yeah, that was crazy.
Yeah,
But,
and what's funny is that's, my niece's in-laws, and you got to go a little deep into the in-laws. Those are the only people into cars. Like every other person in that picture has no idea what cars are. I go into the parking lot, and the guy had somebody had an Escalade, and it had the V emblem on the side. I'm like, well, check that thing out. So after the service, we all walk out in the parking lot, and I hear, I was like, what the hell is that? It was the Escalade.
Wow. Yeah.
I had polar exhaust on his Escalade. Like, oh my god.
Wow.
And then we get to where the party was, and actually we're pulling out of the parking lot, and I hear, I was like, what the hell is that? Here comes his GTO. That's my niece's husband's cousin or something like that.
Yeah.
06 GTO. I mean, work to the nuts.
Yep.
Wow.
The guy was telling me, I told him, he's pulling up, and I look at him and go, it's not loud enough. He goes, well, wait, I'll open the exhaust for you. Yeah, that was a pretty sweet car. There's only like a handful of car people,
Wow.
which kills me because I go to these things and I'm like, yeah, everyone's talking about the Islanders, the Jets, the Yankees. I hate the fucking Yankees. I hate the Rangers too, but they won.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. Well, I just saw the post and I just thought find Jim, it was like find Waldo. I'm like looking through and
Yeah, where's Jim?
And there you are all the way in the back. So That was
Jesse,
a
my
good
wife is
picture.
standing right behind me right now. She's going, "Thank you very much for noticing."
Oh,
Because most of my family does not. All right. Good
no.
night, guys.
Take care, Jim.
Good night, Jim. Yeah, I'm gonna jump ship here in a few minutes myself. I got a long day tomorrow. Finish that storage up, and then one of the cables for the lifting springs on my overhead door broke last night when I was putting the door down. Good thing I wasn't standing there. That spring would have went right through me.
Yeah, well, make sure you have somebody do that because
Yeah.
I was in a shop and the owner sent his nephew up the ladder to do that spring. And as he was winding it up with 2 pry bars, one slipped out and slid him from the top of his head all the way down to his belly button.
Wow.
He was a filleted fish flopping around. He fell off the ladder onto the ground and flopping around. So that was
well, mine is not
bars,
that.
Make bars for that.
Mine's not that way. It's just a big long spring with
on
a
the side.
pulley.
Yeah.
And on the wall where the track is another pulley that the cable runs through.
Yeah.
And so it doesn't have all that winding up stuff to do to fix it. You just put the new cable in, pull it tight, put those U-bolt type nut things on there. And because see, it had those, but I can't find them. They probably embedded in the wall somewhere.
Broke flying.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm lucky I didn't lose the screen on this laptop because it was right there, right over my head.
Oh, man.
And but I was putting the door down last night and that thing, boom! I was like, oh, now I can't get the door up. So
Yeah,
So
it's crazy.
my garage has 2 springs. Does one
mine too.
Does one make it go up, one make it go down?
No, both mine are made for going up and down. Yeah. So when one is
one
not working,
break, and then I'm like, oh, I want to open it. So I thought, I'll just So I'm like, I'll just lift it up because the garage door open. I want to lift it up. I'll just go lift it up, and it felt like I was lifting 1,000 pounds. I'm like, holy crap!
Yeah.
Was the door that heavy, or is there a spring tension?
Yeah, doors that heavy. Doors that heavy.
That's how much the springs assist the door.
I tried to raise it, and I said, screw this. I just left the door down all day and used the man door.
Yeah.
And because I was back and forth from this shop over to the storage and then back again, back over there.
Yeah,
I'll get it all done.
It's a thick door. It's got insulation in it, and it's hurricane rated, so it's got extra bars and all this stuff on it. It's like, and I got it up. I'm like, I'm not doing that again. I put it down. I'm like, I'm not lifting it again.
Well, I think mine is slam shut rated because, man, when that thing snapped, I didn't have to push it the rest of the way down. It just flopped to the freaking ground.
Yeah.
And it locked itself. So I didn't have to even lock it. It was already locked.
Oh, man.
So,
you don't have to worry. You don't have to worry about anybody getting in. They're not going to be able
to.
It's not, it's a pain to try to pick those things up, I tell you. But it's
they'll wake me up because it will make a lot of noise.
How about I had a car trailer, and has the 2 things on the side. I opened it up, and then I think the spring broke in that thing. I'm like, oh, let me let it down. All of a sudden, I'm like, whoa! You hear a whole bunch of noise, bing bong, people's going, and all of a sudden the door is coming down. I'm like, holy shit!
Yeah.
1,000-pound door or whatever. I'm like, God, I just got out of the way and let it slam. I'm like, all right, I almost got crushed to death by the freaking door.
Yeah. I do know that it hit the air filter on the compressor pump and put a dent in the filter screen, the mesh screen that protects the paper filter. It's an 80-gallon air tank with a huge pump. It hit that thing, and God, I had to look at it, make sure I didn't have to replace my pump, but it's okay. So I need to move that air compressor to this side of this workbench into that corner, which I'll probably do this weekend because I got to get that truck cab off of that frame, get it onto the dolly cart, and then I can get it in here, but I got to move the compressor first. So it weighs like I don't understand all this. You guys, I've got a big shop.
Yeah.
I need a bigger one, but I'm managing this one back and forth between that storage. You know, I can keep things out of the way when I don't need it over here. So, but you guys have a great night. It's been good seeing you, and hopefully you find yourself a heater with a beater and not have to pay a lot of money for it.
Yeah.
So, but we'll get. Go ahead.
I'm keeping the old ones going, man. I just keeping the old cars chugging, and
Yeah.
that's it. They don't owe me nothing, so just keep them running until they don't run anymore.
Yeah. I have enough right now with that square body that I can get it tore all down this summer, get the body work done on the cab, get the bed put together, have everything in primer and the suspension and frame all cleaned and painted. Probably have it on the road by spring of next year to just cruise it around without having it completed yet, but it would be running and driving.
Sure.
And I can work on it a little at a time.
That's one of the most fun.
Yeah. Yeah, you don't have to worry about scratches and telling people don't touch it.
Exactly.
But
big fan of that.
Oh yeah. All right, guys. You have a great night. I appreciate you.
All right. See you.
All right, Joey, take care. Be safe. Play nice.
Yep. You too. We'll see you. Bye.
Speaking of keeping the beaters going, I just got the family beater Mazda back. Just did the exhaust repair on that last weekend.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, no big deal. They're in the driveway. Used my car ramps for the first time in like 100 years. Just wasn't worth the effort to go any further with it. So, and then yesterday, we're going to take my wife's car out. And I knew, she had used it the day or two before. And as soon as I get in, I'm like, check engine lights on. Like, when did that happen? Like yesterday? Like, how come, her and my daughter both drove it? Oh, is it? Like, yeah, it is. So we went to food shop, and I said, I have to get home and scan this thing, see what the hell's going on. And of course, it was if you had to take a bet, the 9 out of 10 chance is it's going to be either a PO 300 something or a PO 420, and it was the evac code. So like, okay. And that had a 420 stored in history, and it had one that was an old code, and now it had the current code. So I put the scanner on it, and I start looking at live data. I said, let's see if we got a bad cat. So I look at the oxygen sensors, and I'm getting good voltage readings. And I was actually able to overlay them on the screen, to make sure it wasn't the exact same pattern and the cat was dead. And no, I had live O2s. So the cat was working. The O2s were reporting, not out of range. And I'm like, I've seen this before. So I actually got Joe, my old co-host Joe, on the phone. I said, hey, Joe, let me run this by. Let's talk about PO 420 a bit. So, he had me go into mode 6, and we'll look at the mode 6 data, which again wasn't damning. So I said, okay, I think I know what I'm going to do. And he's like, yep, mechanic in a can. I said, yeah, I'm going to get a can of cat clean and put some in there, because it's just like a threshold that's, that's you're on the edge. I said, and the car's got 80,000 on it now. I do not want to put a cat in it. You never want to do that. So now I'm going to see. I'm going to put the cat clean in it and see what happens. But
I think I have a can over here, because I do it to the DEF filter on the tool truck.
Yeah.
And it's also it's a German product, and you spray it into the exhaust.
Oh, into the exhaust? Yeah.
Yeah, what you would do is you take out your front O2 sensor.
Mm-hmm.
When it's hot, spray it in there, and it foams up and cleans out the cat and DEF filters.
Oh wow! That's
and you
cool.
let it run, and I'm going to tell you something, dude.
Crazy.
It will freak you out because you start that thing back up, and and it smokes. Man, you think you're like, what the hell did I just do? But it cleans them out, and it's I'll go get the can so you can see it. But
Or
it's
just send me a picture of it.
yeah, but it's a can of the cleaner, and it comes with a can of stuff that you pour in. It's very it's very similar. It's a little bit more toxic smell.
I would think so. Where do you get that, Brian?
I get it online. I have a place that I buy off of. I'll have to see if I can find it in my email. But the stuff is very similar to like BG44K, injector cleaner stuff.
Right.
But you run that in afterwards, and it's supposed to help clean up or coat or whatever it's supposed to do.
Okay.
But I ran into that problem. It's ongoing, these with the DEF, the system on these trucks.
Right.
And where you gotta, every 30,000 miles or whatever, or 300 hours, you gotta take it off, have it clean and baked, and all kinds of BS.
Yeah.
I've been really lucky, because that's one of the problems. Like with the DEF system, they don't like to be idled, and
Yeah.
of course, I'm idling all day.
Right.
And but I clean it. I've gotten kind of I did it last night. Last night I changed oil. I went through, changed oil, changed both fuel filters, and then I cleaned out the DEF. And but the stuff is real. It says it'll work with catalytic converters, and like I said, you just spray it down into the pipe, and it foams up, and it cleans that out, and it burns through. And man, talk about cleaning! It's incredible.
It reminds me of many years ago, I had a Pontiac Parisienne wagon with the wood grain sides. It was a 9-passenger wagon, and it had
Wow.
the old 307 in it. So, and it was just, kind of running crappy. I trying to remember if that was a TBI engine or if it was the electronic quadrajet. Might have been the electronic Q-jet. And because then it was 87. And I said, you know what? I bought the GM. I still have a can of it in the garage. It was a GM upper cylinder and valve cleaning solution.
Yeah.
And what they tell you to do is you have the car at operating temperature, and then you run it up to like 2,000 RPM, and you start pouring the stuff into the carburetor and keeping the idle up. And when you get about 2/3 or 3/4 of the can in, you dump the rest of it in one gulp and let go of the throttle and let the engine stall, and then shut the key off, and it'll hot soak. And they say you let it hot soak for like 30 minutes and then start the car. And I did. And I wasn't prepared for the fact that my tailpipe was facing the house. And the
Into the garage?
lighting was a light color, and the thing let out this boff of this black stuff that literally looked like a blunderbuss gun had gone off against the house. All that carbon and shit came flying out.
Wow.
And the car smoked for a while, but I took it for a ride, and on the highway and like off idle, it was a lot smoother. It cleaned out a lot of crap. Idle wise, I think it maybe got a little worse at idle because now there wasn't carbon sealing off the valves where there was before. So,
Right.
But that was quite a
Sorry, Ray. I gotta.
That's all right, Brian.
Yeah, I think the Seafoam. I use that all the time.
Yeah. That GM stuff is really good, though. I've used that before. That stuff, and Seafoam. It's funny. Seafoam is really good too. You just gotta be careful especially, like I said, when you're pouring that stuff in through the carburetor to clean stuff out or whatever, because, if you give it too much, you can have a hydrolock issue or have a problem. That was like when I bought my Scout, and I bought it from a guy, and it was running like crap, and I bring the truck home, and of course my old man was just having a fit because I bring this, ugly truck home, beast, and it's running, it's a V8 and it's running on like, 3.5 cylinders and popping and banging and making all kinds of noise. And we sat there and tell my dad, I said, bring me 2 32-ounce cups of water.
Oh,
and he's like, you want ice? And I said, no. And he goes, 2 cups? I said, yeah. And, I'm trying to keep it running because it barely ran, and it was running. And he comes out and he hands me this water and he's looking at me, like, what in the world are you going to do with this, thing? And I slowly start pouring it down as I'm giving it gas, and this thing is just making noise and the smoke coming out, the exhaust, and you could just see stuff coming out. And it was just so carboned up, and slowly it just starts to run smooth as a whistle, And I guess the insult of injury was he had extra parts for the truck, and I told him I'd come back and get them. Of course, like I said, the truck was running rough. I show back up there in the truck running smooth, and he's like looking like, what did he do? I said, it was just thirsty, dude. It was just thirsty,
Yeah.
And but that was back in the, we had a 2-liter bottle with a hole cut in the, in the top, and we would have it hanging like an IV thing, and you'd squeeze it when you were going in, cleaning out carbon buildup. Today's a little bit more difficult because there's no like easy access support.
Right.
So,
well, you know what? We'll end our live stream here, and we'll be back more of this stuff next week with loosely. Of course, Brian, McAman, Brian, Keith, all the regulars will be here. Me, Motor Mouth Ray. That's if I'm still awake. We've got to do our marathon next week, so it's going to be a killer of a Sunday.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
It's gonna be.
So we'll be back here more doing this again next week. Until then, keep the greasy side down, and we'll see you on Playing in Traffic next Thursday night.
See you guys later.
Awesome.